we've talked about the individual, the company, the country. Now we're talking about potentially global conflict, which is occurring. So at a level, and there's always parallels between conflict and money, it seems. So at a level, do you think we are at World War III right now?
Yes. World War III started the day that George Floyd died. That is when World War III started. That is our Franz Ferdinand moment. When George Floyd died, and whatever you think about that, I'm not making any judgments one way or another, that is when World War III started.
Why?
Because it allowed the civil unrest to explode massively in the US. And all of that civil unrest is driven by George Soros, who is a Nazi collaborator, sent his own Jews to death camps, and funds open societies. That is unacceptable.
Now, some people listening might have heard that for the first time. So George Soros, just for background, incredibly rich individual. He's incredibly generous, maybe in his words, but his money goes towards foundations and causes that serve very distinct purposes. So do you want to just unpack what he is basically up to, what his foundation is up to?
He's a Marxist, and he always bets against the market. That's how he made all his money, betting against the British pound, breaking the bank, so to speak. He always bets against everybody. He's a very negative sort of personality in that respect, and he will always bet against you. And the biggest thing that bets against the West is communism. So that's what he funds. He funds civil unrest in countries. That is what he funds.
Is that what we're seeing in New Zealand, Australia, Canada,
Yes.
US, UK?
Yes, everywhere. And I have no problem, being a libertarian, I have no problem with people trying to seek a better life in a different country. I don't really have a specific problem with immigration.
I'm from a different country, John. So
exactly.
You'd have a problem with me.
No, not at all. God, look at what Canada's doing at the moment with Mark Carney. That later. I don't have a problem with any of that. And I think in a very libertarian society, that would all be possible. You do need to, when you immigrate to another country, you need to adopt that culture and then merge and integrate with that culture. That is the obligation that is on you for moving to country. And that's the same if I move to Australia or the US or I move to Spain, I still learn Spanish. So that's what we should be expecting from our immigrants on that perspective. But I actually have no problem with people seeking better lives anywhere. I do wish a lot of them would stay in their own countries and make those countries better. I think the US and the West tends to steal a lot of intellectual capital from those countries by offering large amounts of, in my opinion, completely fake money to come in. You're taking all the best people away from India, from Pakistan, from Iran. So now there are no good people in those countries to be able to build those countries into first world countries, which they can do. Look how smart India is. 1.7 billion people. India is a big rising power. I'd love to align with India more. But they're genuine, hardworking people that have a good understanding of economics generally. They're quite smart. They're very technologically developed. They're investing in technology. India's come such a long way. So has China. And we've exported and outsourced all of our manufacturing to these other locations, partially because they don't have minimum wage and they use slave labor, particularly Uyghur Muslims in China. That's just one example. But they have all our manufacturing now. It's like, well, that's great. But then what is it that we are doing? What is the productive work that we're doing on our end? And how are we generating income to buy those things from those companies, from those countries? And look at how good China has become as a result of being a bit more capitalist and doing a bit more trading. They have come a long way from the Communist Party of Mao Zedong. A long way. There's a lot more freedom in China now than there ever has been before. And irrespective of what you think about the Communist CCP and the creepy agents that they have all over the place controlling what people are doing, in a lot of China, people just don't care. What the government does is kind of irrelevant to them. The government's banned Bitcoin. Does it stop them? No. They can still transfer value in Bitcoin. And so there's nothing that the government can do about this. And I would love to see people be more economically productive and more trade with each other rather than fighting with each other.
So let's just say we're in World War III. Start with George
definitely
Floyd.
are. Yep.
And
I put it in my mate's calendar. A week after George Floyd got murdered, I said, this is the start of World War III. When 2030 comes around, you come and talk to me. That's the day it started.
There's more than one party, right, in this war. Who are the main parties in this war?
Sort of the BRICS alliance. So Russia, China, and they're also not natural allies. So they're in a bit of a weird sort of alliance here at the moment because of kind of the US dominance. And it is that sort of colonialism flavor of America exporting its culture to everywhere else. And while I might quite like that, it's not going to be suitable for China. It's just not the way they do things. They have a different culture. And that's not to say it's wrong or bad or anything like that, although there are some cultures that are better than others. But it is a rebellion against the US dominance. And it's taken China a very, very long time to get to this place. And they've made huge mistakes. The bridges are collapsing. There's ghost cities all over the place. They've tried a lot of things. But it comes back to they're producing a lot of the goods and services that we use. And that is the productive energy effort that everybody should really focus on, because it's that trade that prevents the wars that are happening.